what they're doing. They're running us around.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about this whole category of software products, which we call B2B, right? Where it's business to business. The maker of the software sells it to businesses for business use. But a defining characteristic of B2B software is that the people who have to use it have to use it. It's imposed on them because the business buys a license and then imposes it on their employees to use it. They say, here, you have to use this because this is our tool, right? So for creating documents, they'll buy something like Notion because it has these businessy features like collaborative, the ability to collaborate on a document. It's all in the cloud. You can comment, you can give feedback. Look at Figma. It's a design tool, but in order to make it a B2B product, you have to add all these things like the same thing, collaboration features and productivity features. You can literally observe in real time in a file the designer working on that file. And you can give feedback and comments. So in this situation, like the designer is a captive user, right? They might like using Figma, but that's not the point. The point is that they had no choice because in order to work for that company that has a Figma license, Figma is their design tool. And if that designer prefers to use Adobe Illustrator or OmniGraffle, they can't because it's not compatible with the way they work in that company, because Figma is not a design tool, it's a B2B tool, right? It's how they share design files. It's how they give feedback on design. It has all of these things that are not related to the drawing of user interface elements, right? And then I think something that a lot of people can relate to as being a captive user is if you have applied for a job in the last 5 to 6 years online, you've probably used or been a captive user of HR B2B products where they're all kind of different, but they're all kind of the same, where they've been sold to a business as this tool for screening applicants, right? They use AI and all these automations to make sure that the business has to speak to as few people as possible. And for the applicant, the actual captive user, it's probably the most dehumanizing job applications have been ever, right? The amount of hoops you have to jump through before you actually speak to a person. And then you're hit with this insult of when you speak to a person, it's a HR person who asks you all the same questions that you've already answered in a video that you've uploaded or you've had to meticulously type out in all of these text fields. And you're probably going to be ruled out before you even get a chance to speak to somebody about the skills that you have. Somebody who actually understands the skills required for the role, because the HR person doesn't. The HR person just asks you what salary you're expecting and whether you want to be fully remote or a hybrid and all of this stuff. The reality baseline is that everybody using B2B is using it. It's not their choice, right? It's not something they chose to use. It doesn't mean they don't like using it, right? There's lots of designers that enjoy using Figma, and there's lots of people who love using Notion, right? But the choice was taken away from them if they're using it for their work. And so what you end up with is the user experience design is more of a layer on top of a dehumanizing, oppressive, anxiety and stress inducing product that is, emojis and casual language in the notifications and error messages and delightful animations. When it's applied to these products, if you are a person that's using it and who would prefer to be using something else, or just loathe every day that you have to use this thing, that layer of user experience design has this negative effect where it is actually insulting, and it just serves as this thin veil that's obviously trying to distract you from the realities of this thing.